welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I'm Beth Cooper.
And I'm Stacey Earlywine, and we are glad to be here today.
We are so happy to be here. We have some fun things planned for this episode.
We do. I'm ready for spring.
I love winter.
Oh, that's right. See, that's where Beth and I are different. I am a summer girl. If I could have 7 months of July and 4 months of October, I'd do it.
No. I need winter. I need snow. I need ice. I need fires and like the cozy feeling of Christmas and all of your family at home and soup on the stove and getting dark early and the Christmas tree lights are on. I love it.
That's where you and I are a little bit different.
Yes.
But, one thing that I do love is food.
I love food, too.
I love food. But and you so even though, like, you love winter, and there's a lot of good food that comes with, winter and everything, but there is nothing better than an ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Oh, yes.
I'm doing, for those of you that watched our previous episodes, our Better Homes and Gardens. I'm probably going to focus on this magazine for a while. It is July 1952. We have decided that this old girl is 71 years old, and she's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go here. These magazines.
She's full of great content from the past. So on this show, we love everything from the past. We love to talk about the history of our county. We love to talk about items from the past. We love to talk about old homes, everything. And this is a gem right here.
Seriously. I'm assuming since it's 1952, this is
around and I'll show them.
Look at this. Look at these. These housewives of 1952 make us all look at her.
Yeah, isn't she beautiful?
Perfect hair, pearls, the dress. Of course, she's probably a size -0.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's got her handy-dandy Coca-Cola. I love this ad. If I could find this in a large poster,
oh, yeah,
I would have this up. I would have. I'm not so sure that I won't try to find this beautiful lady and this poster. That would make a wonderful picture for the town theater, for Nostalgia Theater.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I just think it's wonderful.
So the ad says, enjoy food, of course. Good things to eat. Find happy companionship in ice-cold Coca-Cola. Now, I have not ever looked for companionship with a drink before with Coke. Well, I do like a good Coke.
Well, I don't know. I think I've been there back in the day where I I may have had some companionship with a little Coke with a little added and you waka in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you really? Okay. She's got her nice little charcuterie board there laid out with her Coke and her beautiful
look at this.
dress.
See, this is what I love. Did they really take the time to do these tomatoes? Look at those tomatoes back there. Okay. Look at that. They are stuffed tomatoes. It's perfect. Where does charcuterie come from?
I'm going to guess France. It seems French to me. It's a very French word.
So back in the 50s, what would they have called that? Just a
appetizer
tray, a meat and cheese platter.
Yeah, meat and cheese platter.
In the year 2023, we are charcuterie boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are getting serious with that. But she's got her lipstick
she's so pretty.
on. Oh, she's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Funny thing about these Coke models is that I actually have a friend. Her name is Jenny, and she lives up north. She was raised, I think, in Chicago. And she has an aunt. She's passed away now, but her name was Pat, and she was a model for Coke.
Really?
And she was gorgeous. Let me show you her picture.
Let me see.
She was the prettiest thing. And there she is. That's Jenny's Aunt Pat.
Wow.
And she actually met an artist one time who was, I think her dad was an artist, but he had another artist that worked next door to him. And before you know it, they needed a Coke model, and she fit the bill. And she was in all kinds of Walgreens ads for Coke.
Really?
At the time, and she was in different things. But over the years, they didn't really see her image so much. And
leave that image up for just a little bit. I love that.
She's so pretty, and she's got her pearls on, and
she must have been going to a football game. There is on her lapel is
she has a mum, doesn't she? In football. It must have been football season. Oh, it says thirst knows no season.
Yes,
and so that must have been a football season ad.
Wow, yeah, I think it's gorgeous.
So Jenny and her mother were actually in a store in 2004, I think, and they came across some calendars. And it was a Coke calendar, and they happened to flip through it, and they found her Aunt Pat in it.
Wow.
And since they have found her picture in all kinds of things, there's been lunch boxes and all kinds.
Wow.
So, like if you're ever, or if you're a Coke collector, you might even look through your items, or if you're in an antique store, look at the items and see. You may see my friend Jenny's Aunt Pat.
How fun.
Because she was a Coke model back in the day.
I love that.
Yeah, what a fun job that would have been.
Could you imagine? Yeah. But, of course, I'm assuming, back in the 50s, when they drank a glass of Coke, it was probably like this. Now we do 64 ounces. Mm-hmm. Because, you look back at that, like our gloves. You notice we have these gloves on the walls. Those people actually wore those gloves. I can't even get my hand in there. It is shocking. And I love vintage clothing.
Oh yeah,
and I am always shocked. They were tiny.
They were tiny, and my oldest daughter. She went through a time where she loved vintage clothing too, and she did.
Our little house on the prairie girl.
Yeah, she might be cringing now, but we would go to antique stores, and it would all fit her because they were all tiny, and she was pretty tiny herself. So it was lucky for her that she liked that stuff and that it fit her. But it's hard to find them in other sizes.
I guess we all evolve, because I think like the way we eat and the way we do things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's our food.
It has to be.
It's so processed,
and we just don't work as hard.
No,
I mean that's probably going to be maybe a bad thing to say, but we literally
like
physical work, and not everybody. I remember. Of course, I graduated in high school at Flora High School in 1985, and only the kids that came from wealthy families had cars.
Oh.
If you take into consideration just how people walked everywhere they went.
Oh, right.
There was like one car per family. We were that family, one car. I think my sister Diane, I think maybe we all shared a car by the time I got the ugly Dodge Omni. It was broke down. But we were literally pretty much a one car family. Okay. And everybody walked everywhere. And if you've ever gone to like cities, they walk everywhere they go.
They do, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think people that have visited our county, like people that have moved here to work from other areas and other countries are amazed that we all drive everywhere, even if we're only going a block.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
jump in the car and drive it.
Absolutely. Well,
it's just our culture, I guess, here.
I was at the town theater, which is now Nostalgia Theater, and I was wanting to go down and go to Los Tres to get some lunch, and I literally almost got in my car to drive, and I'm like, well, that's silly. So then I walked down there, and I'm like, my goodness, but literally it got in my head to drive. I must tell a story.
Okay.
Whenever I got my license, I was raised on South Locust Street.
Okay.
Like when you go down South Locust and you go into the high school, literally my house was kind of like on the curb, and anyway, so right across the street was the old, the Latter-day Saints, the Community of Christ Church, which then became the Unit 35 office.
Oh,
and that parking
that
lot was there. Yes, that building was there. So like kids, and then we didn't have the large parking lot that we have to the north of the high school. Those were still houses that were there and an empty field. So literally the only parking you had, and the one behind the high school didn't exist. The only parking you had at Flora High School was literally on front of Locust and then on Flora Avenue on the south side by Building C.
Okay.
I was a senior, and my dad got me a 1979 Buick Regal. Man, I love that car, and I hate myself for getting rid of it.
Those were pretty cars.
Boy, it was a two-toned maroon. It was beautiful. And I so bad wanted to drive to school. Dad was like, well, hon, what are you going to do? Take it out of the... What are you going to do? Drive it out of the driveway and literally drive across the street?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I really would like to, because I want to drive to school, because when we were doing the musical, it was my senior year, and we were doing The Sound of Music, and so we had practices at the high school at night.
Oh, so you got to drive to practice, I bet.
I drove my car from 435 South Locust, hit the stop sign right there on Washington, went through the little cattywampus crook in the road right there, and drove around to Building C on the south side so I could drive my car. I love that. Oh, I can remember that car. Gosh, I can close my eyes and smell it.
You know what?
Velvet seats.
Jim, if you're listening, you should, for her anniversary, You should track that car down.
You know what? He and I have both discussed that because it's so funny. Jim and I are so like. I believe he had a Buick when he was Jim's what 4 years. I don't know. I think he's 4 years older than I am. Okay. And when he was in, I think he drove a Buick Regal too. We have so much in common, and Jim and I do, and that's a story for a whole other day. But yeah, so I mentioned I've told him that several times because actually Calvin Booth did that for Robin. Robin drove this beautiful red Firebird, and then they things happen, and you sell that. And I do remember that Calvin was like, Stacey, I don't think it was Robin's car, but it was identical, and he did buy that for her.
Jason Cooper did that too.
Really?
My husband, yes. Yeah, it's not the exact one, but he found a replica of a Mercury, a 1993 Mercury Capri convertible that I drove in high school.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we need to take a commercial break, so we hope you join us for By the Way.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
It's the weekend and your symptoms are worsening. The morning of a big meeting and you have a bigger sore throat. Ever experienced that urgency after picking up your sick child and your community health center has already closed? You will be able to connect to a provider at crhpc.org. Even if you have never been to CRHPC, you are welcome to utilize our services. Feel better after scheduling a video visit with CRHPC.
The insurance specialists have options to tailor to your needs at CSI Insurance Brokers. Experienced insurance brokers at CSI are skilled with all types of insurance plans and policies and represent many companies, including Safeco Insurance. You'll benefit from their detailed expertise, unbeatable premiums, and commitment to customer service. CSI Insurance Brokers and Safeco Insurance Company, providing affordable rates on quality insurance since 1952.
Okay, welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I'm Beth Cooper.
I'm Stacey Earlywine, and we are so glad that you are joining us today at Wabash.
Yes.
Yes.
So Channel 100, if you're watching locally, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
You know what, Beth, whenever we drive around town and stuff, and I don't know if you've noticed, but like you see a lot of like empty lots.
Oh, yeah. They're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. You just drive and some of those, I remember a day back, where Flora was hustling and bustling, and everything you needed, you could shop downtown to get.
Right.
And
not anymore.
Not anymore. No. It's went from a retail to a service industry, pretty much downtown. But so we're going to focus on our show today on empty lots, and just a little recap. Beth and I, the purpose of our show is to do history of Clay County.
Yep.
And we're going to focus on Flora today, and we will be focusing on every town in the county.
Right.
People, fashion, homes, which we love, love.
I love the homes.
We love the homes. And just a lot of fun stuff. We just want to bring entertainment into your home, and we just want to have a really good time with you guys for an hour a day. We're excited about it. So let's talk about empty lots, darling.
Gosh, they're everywhere.
They really are. We're just going to hit on about 3 of them today.
Okay. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, you know what? Let's start with Gaslight Square.
Oh, Gaslight Square. Okay, so for those that don't know, Gaslight Square is right downtown Flora, and it's a parking lot directly across from the bank. Mm-hmm. It would be on the southeast corner of the main.
Right next to Common Grounds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And my kids didn't know it was called Gaslight Square until Christmas of this year. They had the ice skating rink there for the Christmas Chris Kindle market that they had downtown. And I said that the ice skating rink was at Gaslight Square, and they all looked at me like I was from another planet. And they're like, what do you mean? The parking lot? And I'm like, yeah, it's called Gaslight Square. Well, why is it called that? I'm like, I don't know. I assume because they used to use gas lights to light it.
Absolutely. Like, see the beautiful brick pillars that are right there, you know, and on top of the brick pillars, they had the lanterns were gas lanterns.
Okay.
Gaslight Square became that. But before it was Gaslight Square.
Tell me all about it. What was it?
Actually where Throgmorton Palace Drugstore was at.
Oh, right. I've heard this.
Yes. On September 15th, 1954, Throgmorton Palace Drugstore collapsed in that area, and it took down a building right next door to it. So you had like on that to that where Gaslight Square is now, you had Throgmorton Palace and another business, and that business slips my mind at the moment, which a lot of things do. But yes, it was actually, and the sad thing about that, you got us a picture, Beth?
I have a picture of the collapse. There it is.
Yes. So the building that you see standing right there, you got the two buildings that are collapsed, and then the building right next is what's known as Common Grounds right now. And when we show you these pictures, you'll, like when you guys go downtown or whatever, look at that, because a lot of these, because this was in the 50s, so our downtown storefronts haven't changed a lot since the 50s. Now, we go back to the 1800s, the early 1900s, you'll notice that the structure of the buildings look different from that way, because a lot of those buildings are gone and then new ones popping up in the 50s. But that was Throgmorton Palace right there. And what happened is I was reading a little bit about it, and the owners of Throgmorton Palace was Cecil Palace and John Throgmorton. Everybody was that they had workers in there, and they also had a couple of construction people that were working on the building. And there was a gentleman who was interviewed after. He literally said that in the bricks, they were at the back because there was a back entrance and a front entrance.
Okay.
And this gentleman was one of the construction workers there, and he saw a couple of bricks from the inside fall. 3 bricks fell. And he literally said within about 30 seconds in the interview, he saw that, and then the building started to shake. So him and another man started to yell, "Let's get out of the building."
My goodness.
They actually escaped. 3 people lost their lives in that.
How sad. I actually feel kind of bad showing that picture, since there were people that passed away in the picture, but it does give you an idea of what exactly happened. I tried to track down a picture of the building before the collapse. I wasn't able to find one, but it was a tall 2-story building.
Yes.
And it also brought down the building next to it. So
it did.
Let's go back to that picture, though, just because there's something else interesting in that picture. I'm looking at the street sign that's on the light post, and it says 4550.
Right.
So at that time in the 50s, Route 45 and Route 50 were still going right through the center
downtown.
of town. And I'm sure that helped with keeping the businesses alive, too.
Absolutely.
Now everything is out on the Route 50 corridor north of town, and less traffic through our downtown.
Yeah, so like when you travel today and you're like on what we call Old 50 that runs directly right through Flora, like East and West North Avenue, is literally Route 50. So like when you're traveling, let's say you're going east and you're going to Clay City, when you get to Mount Zion Hill, and then you go back north, and then you get on New 50. If you look off to your side, you can see Route 50 right there. It's an interesting story. I first started. I'm a hairdresser, and I first started my business in 1987.
Oh wow.
And I was over in Clay City. I was in the back of a liquor store. My grandfather owned the party pack over there.
Okay.
He had an oil company in the back, and then there was a room where my uncles, Mark Franklin and Butch Franklin, started an acidizing business. But they had since moved, so my grandfather put me in that. I was there for 5 years, built up enough business where my father then built me the brick building that's still there on the south side of the road.
Okay.
I wanted, when we built that building, we put it right up because like there's just this old decrepit road right there.
Right.
Okay. Which was the continuation, and I wanted people to park in the front of the building, but the state wouldn't let me because that building with grass and everything growing up was Route 50.
Really?
And you cannot legally back. It was too short, and I didn't have the money to put a concrete driveway in, so we're just going to do gravel. You could not exit and enter off of Route 50 onto a gravel parking lot.
Well, I'll be darned. I did not know
So
that.
you can see, like when you're traveling, you can literally see, you can see all the way different parts of it. That. So I can't remember. I remember New 50 always. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure when that was constructed, but yeah, that's really interesting. And those light poles are amazing. I wish we.
Oh, I know. I heard that there was somebody working on bringing back some really nice lamp posts to downtown Flora.
Mm-hmm. You know, in this show, by the way,
let us tell you something.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to focus on a lot of downtown, and we just want to let the viewers know that. Downtown, there's a lot of us that are really trying to bring back downtown.
We're working on it.
We really are. And it is very, very hard to bring back what's the word I want to use? A downtown that's crumbling, I guess.
Oh, right.
Could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really want to.
All the buildings need work.
They all need work, and it's expensive. And, every once in a while, people will throw out, what can we, what would you like to see? What would you like to see? We would all like to see those things, but unfortunately, it's going to take a group of us to go in together and do things.
It's going to take a lot more people involved than what is already involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we want to see that grow, and it is, downtown is growing. I can tell you we're getting a little bit more retail. And like I said, we will discuss Nostalgia Theater, which is, with the exception of my husband, my children, and my perfect grandchildren, the love of my life. So we will be discussing a lot about that. But we just want to tell you the history of it. Maybe with the history, if you know your history, you can move straight forward and redo that. But the Throgmorton building, that's pretty crazy.
Next time you park your car at Gaslight Square, or you're getting ready to go eat downtown or go shopping, kind of pause for a moment and realize what happened where you're parking your car, because 3 people lost their lives there when that building collapsed.
And they were young. They were 18, 19, and 20 years old.
Oh man,
they
that's
were young.
Heartbreaking.
They were young. 2 of them were actually workers, and one of them was one of the carpenters that didn't get out. Now, Cecil Palace and John Throgmorton, they were in the building at the time that it collapsed, but apparently how the structure landed, they were protected. So both owners ended up, and then they continued on the north side of the road. What would that be, Beth? Where Throgmorton Palace,
where they were more recently. That would be like kind of where the bars were.
I think Phil Wiley
owns that.
Phil Wiley owns that building
now. What was the name of
now.
the last bar that was there? Rumors? Was that it?
Yeah, I think so. But see, they had Throgmorton Palace there, and then they had the Hallmark store, which I love.
I love the Hallmark store too.
I was brokenhearted when they went out of business.
So it was kind of a 2-sided business, and there was Hallmark on one side, and then the pharmacy side on the other.
The north side of East North Avenue.
Yeah, when I was in high school, there were several high school girls that worked in there at Hallmark, and we'd go in there and visit.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a good store. I remember one story is that when I was in high school, I smashed this fingernail in a car door of my Capri convertible, and it got locked in there. And at that time, you didn't have a key fob. I had to dig, and I'd already put the keys in my purse. Goodness. So while this finger was, locked into the car, I had to dig out my keys, find my keys, unlock my car, then pull my finger out. And so I had a really badly smashed finger that was about, the nail was going to fall off, and it was black, and it was awful looking. And I went into Throgmorton Palace Pharmacy for something else, and a friend of mine that worked there was like, "What's wrong with your hand?" I'm like, "Oh, I smashed my finger, terrible." And she said, "Let's have John, the pharmacist, take a look at it." He ended up like drilling a little hole in it for me.
Right there in the store?
I think, right there in the back.
They probably did.
And it like drained some stuff. And then he went back there and like whipped up some kind of concoction for me. I don't even know what it was.
Wow,
and wrapped it all up, bandaged me, and out I went. And it was so nice.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to go to the doctor, and my finger felt way better.
Speaking of pharmacies, why is it, except for now, CVS, why were pharmacists up high? Okay, so like you go back at Throgmorton, you Save More when it came in. Like you'd walk in and you'd have to look up at the pharmacists. They were always like
way up there.
Yeah, do you remember? And then there was always so much stuff you could hardly see the pharmacist. Do you remember that?
I don't know. I would love to know the reason.
I don't know.
Like
maybe
they look
that
down on us like, we peasants.
Sickly people. What are you doing? What'd you do? Smash your finger in your drawer?
Maybe it was a way to protect themselves from getting sick themselves.
You could be onto something. You could be onto something. thought-provoking.
Note to self,
right there.
Google that later.
Google that later. And speaking of Googling that, if there are stories that you or people that you would like to give Beth and I information about, we would love to put that on the show. That would be wonderful. We're going to be looking for a lot of fun things to do.
We are.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So I like what you said about when next time you're in that area, just driving by today.
Right.
Just take a gander over there and take a look at Gaslight Square. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. My grandfather, Harry Hemphill Sr., and my uncle Harry Hemphill, Little Harry, we had Big Harry and Little Harry, are responsible for building the pillars back.
Oh, really?
Yep. I'll touch on my family. My family's history with brick masons is pretty awesome, and I'm very proud of it. So, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back, by the way.
Tomorrow. Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County Farmers Mutual Insurance.
Doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh yeah, give me all your guns too.
John Lucas.
What?
You better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zink Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zink Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank. We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online bank, just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree.
Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be. Clay County State Bank.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey.
Hello. We're still here.
We're still here, and we are still talking about history. We're talking about empty lots today because they are all over Clay County, and we're kind of touching on just a few that are in Flora today. Other episodes we can talk about the other towns because they're full of them too. And not just downtown, but there's a lot of empty lots that were houses used to be.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a great episode when we do that.
Yes. Because there are some beautiful homes that are now gone than they were.
I know it.
I miss them. I miss the old homes.
Oh, I miss them too.
If it was up to me, I would never build a new home. I would fix every old one.
I absolutely agree.
And then there were people like my husband, and he was like, he would say, I would never buy an old home. Do you know how much it costs to heat and cool those? It's so practical.
We, Jim, my husband, Jim Earlywine, it was an engineer at North American Lighting. He retired, but there was a time whenever we were they moved their corporate office to Paris, Illinois. Paris, and no, Paris. And anyway, so I remember the big joke about it was we thought we were going to have to move. And I had just bought the building downtown, the old My Fair Lady building. I just purchased that. I think my son Mac was going into high school. Connor was going into junior high. Worst time to move ever. And I told Jim, I said, I know that you're corporate, but we may have to finagle. Well, you may have to get a different job at NAL. But where I'm going with this is if you've ever been to Paris, Illinois, there's a lot of old homes. A lot of the people that were moving with NAL at that time, they were looking at like houses by a golf course and by a lake or whatever. Jim said, my wife is going to take me to the most rundown part of town.
Don't you know it?
She's going to buy the oldest home that looks like Herman Munster lives in and want to make me refinish that. And by the grace of God, Jim found a different position that they ended up letting him stay and we didn't have to move.
Good.
Yeah, that was a running joke. Everybody else was looking at these new homes and I'm like, no, No. I need one with holes in the ceiling, please.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I would want one with holes in the ceiling, but I would totally take an old home.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, the Bible always says that, God is preparing us a mansion in heaven. And I'm like, mine's going to be the snowy Victorian on the corner, baby.
Excuse me, Jesus, I'll take the pink lady on the west side of the street.
He already knows. He's like, yeah. Give him the Coopers.
Here comes Beth and Stacey. They'll probably show up together. Chances are.
Sad but true.
Sad but true.
Okay. Let's talk about lots.
Let's talk about an empty lot right now.
Okay.
You want to know the worst Christmas of my life?
Yes, I do.
December 1979, JCPenney.
It's like, picture it, Sicily.
Picture it, Sicily.
1970.
The worst.
What happened?
Well, JCPenney set on the empty lot that's still empty. Nothing's there.
Okay.
Right next to the Etchison building that is now for sale, the brick building.
Okay.
You know where Lisa Ehrbarker has that beautiful mural.
Okay, the new mural
painted?
that says Flora that has like animals and clouds and
It is on the north side of West North Avenue.
Okay. So kind of catty corner from Dairy Queen, sort of. You can see it from the Dairy Queen drive-through.
You can see right through that lot.
Okay.
In December of 1979, JCPenney set there. And I remember JCPenney. I remember the downtown areas. I can still seriously walk in there and still smell them,
Oh, really?
And you had JCPenney and you had Western Auto right to the right. And in December 1979, it blew up.
Oh, my.
Shook the town.
Oh, my.
Absolutely shook the town. I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And the reason why it was the worst Christmas of my life is, some of us, like kids today, you need clothes. They go buy clothes. We need shoes. We buy toys, blah, blah, blah. And then there's of us grandparents now, the yayas and pawpaws of the world that are destroying their grandchildren because whatever they want, we buy them right now. Well, there's several of us back that were born in the 60s and 70s, and that wasn't the case. You got toys at Christmas time. You got an Easter basket with candy at Easter. You got new school clothes at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
That year, and my mother was notorious. She loved Christmas, and whatever we asked for, we got. My dad would have dug ditches to get us what we needed. Our Christmases were phenomenal. My mom always made those special.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that year they came out with Oliver and Olivia Octopus.
Okay.
Oliver was blue and Olivia was pink.
Okay.
They were these octopus, and they were like Stretch Armstrong.
Oh, cool.
Do you remember Stretch Arm?
Sure.
But these were would it be octopi or
it's actually octopuses. A lot of people think that
Octopuses?
octopi is correct, and in the English language, either one can be acceptable, but it's actually octopuses.
It is octopuses. See, I brought up octopi and octopuses because she is the English police.
Yeah, I think
she will nail you at every corner if it's not her. What, Jessica Muskoff? Is Jessica an English police?
No,
Not as bad as you.
No.
Not as bad as you. But so when JCPenney blew up, so did
your octopuses.
My octopuses blew up with it. Of course, at 12 years old, I didn't realize.
So that's how it came to be the worst Christmas
The
of your
worst
life.
Christmas of my life.
Oh,
the only
how
time
sad.
I did not get what I wanted, and I'll never forget that Christmas morning.
I guess
and that
not.
was what I was expecting. Did I know that my octopuses blew up in JCPenney? No, I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Oh, you just thought your mom and dad were like, nope.
Whatever.
Not this year, Stacey.
I can still remember that. And my mom she wrapped everything. There was nothing ever. Like some people leave like a big gift. My mom wrapped it all. And I came down the stairs and I tore through those and I was like, and Mom was like, well, honey, do you remember the store uptown that's not there anymore, that there's just ash and, you know, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, Oliver and Olivia.
Oliver and Olivia were in the
that store was so
explosion.
cool because like downtown stores had those hardwood floors. You'd walk into JCPenney and you could creak. I can hear the creaking of the floor. And then you would walk to the north of the building, which would be the back of the building, but be north. You're walking north, and then it like went down 3 steps, boom, 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 and down there on that back part was all the children's stuff, all the toys
fun.
and stuff. And JCPenney was amazing, but a gas leak. But the blessing was because back in those days, you had all those retail stores. Had that happened, well, I think it blew up at like 2:00 in the morning. Had that happened 8 hours earlier, there would have been
died.
People would have died. They would have all been Christmas shopping.
It would have been packed, I bet.
There was nobody in that store when that happened. So by the grace of God,
and I bet everybody in town woke up and was like,
"You
what
betcha.
the heck
you
just
betcha.
happened?"
I remember it shaking.
I don't know if I woke up. I would have been 10 months old at the time.
Yeah, you probably slept through it, but I woke up and my dreams were shattered. But yeah, by the grace of God, because then it not only affected that, but right next door to it, you had a Western Auto.
Okay, and it went down too.
Yeah, Western Auto did not go down, but it did so much structural damage
they had to tear
that they had to tear it down and rebuild it. And actually, my grandfather, I mentioned him earlier, Harry Hemphill, and my uncle, little Harry Hemphill, and my dad, and my uncle Charles Hemphill, and Bill Hemphill is my father. They're responsible for building. They built the building, put the brick back on it. The brick you see today is the brick that my grandparents and my uncles laid.
Brick where though? I don't see any brick.
Okay,
It was empty lot.
No, that Western Auto then is where Etchison's Appliance is.
Oh, okay.
So you have
that building.
Stanford
They
Marketing,
rebuilt that. Okay.
and then Etchison Appliance was in there. That building right now with the brown brick is Western Auto built back. JCPenney did not build, but Western Auto.
JCPenney actually moved on down the street, I believe, because I think over the years they had a few different locations. But this one, this is a picture from 1954, I believe. This was the Flora Centennial Parade. So everyone in the pictures dressed up like 1854 when the town was founded. I think it was 1854. It might have been 53. But anyway, you can see off to the side there that JCPenney's in this picture is right next to Sears.
Yes. See, and then what's interesting, so you got something shops, and then you got Penny's, Sears, and I can't understand. It almost looks like I don't know,
or something. Brokerage.
But see, so now it's moved on down to the east side of the street, still on the north side. So that's what would that be? East North Avenue, and then that building, like you almost see, like where you can see where our beautiful gas lights are at, down on that other corner where you see where the buildings are not attached is the old Scudamore building, which we will do a whole presentation on the Scudamore building, because so then that street where that car is at, where the cars are behind the people, is actually Locust Street, North and South Locust.
Yeah. So in this picture where JCPenney's is and Sears is actually where we talked about where Throgmorton's moved later.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's kind of the same area.
Because that building on the very corner would be what was Jayco's, and we'll cover that, which is now the Chinese restaurant. And then where it's got that flat roof, that flat roof right there, that would have been Throgmorton's. Yeah, and then, you know, I believe.
Yeah, and so just to clarify,
these pictures are fun.
The building that's back there on the far right of your screen in the corner that is no longer there, the Scudamore building, we're going to talk about that on another day, but that is where there's an empty lot now for Clay Medical, the Clay Medical parking lot. That would be that area.
And
just
the Scudamore building was, man... They had everything in there.
Oh, I don't remember that building at all.
I don't remember that building. That building was long gone before I was around. We'll just because there's pictures of that old building. But yeah, JCPenney's was a.
Yeah, I talked to my grandma about the JCPenney building, and she said that she remembers she took the kids in there right before school started, and they would all get new school clothes. That's where she took them every year.
Yep.
So, yeah, she liked the JCPenney store too.
Yeah, are JCPenney still around? I mean, that one at Effingham.
Really few and far between. So there's, I mean, where was I? I think at Fairview Heights. I think their JCPenney is still open, but it's just not the same as it used to be. It feels kind of bare and
I miss that one at Effingham.
Yeah, I miss it too. Here's a fun fact about JCPenney is that he was born and raised in Hamilton, Missouri, and I have been to his home, his childhood home, because. And you'll never believe this, I'm sure, what I'm about to tell you. What took me to that town was a quilt shop.
No.
I travel
not
around
a quilt shop.
Oh, I love to quilt, and I go to quilt shops all over. But yes, that is where that town is actually called the Disneyland for quilters.
Really?
Because there's 12 quilt shops in that town. They took it downtown, and it was like kind of run down about like Clay City is now, like not very many businesses, and everything's in pretty rough shape. And they put in one quilt shop, and the lady that owned it, that ran it, she was kind of getting famous on YouTube for some quilting how-to videos.
Wow.
And people started traveling to her actual store called Missouri Star Quilt Company. And then they just kept adding. And they actually, if you want to talk about a downtown transition, they took a run downtown, and it is beautiful there now.
Really?
The whole town is nothing but quilt shops. It's a destination. People arrive by the bus loads to their downtown to visit these busloads and busloads of people.
That's awesome.
But anyway,
well,
JCPenney
speaking
is
of
from
quilts,
there. Yes.
well, let's talk about your quilt that adorns our wall here.
Yes.
Did you do that one?
I did quilt that one, but
beautiful.
I did not piece it. This is an antique quilt that I
So
picked
there's
up.
difference. Okay, I'm confused about quilting.
Okay.
Real quick, we got a little bit before a commercial break. What's piecing and quilting?
Piecing is when you just sew together the little pieces, in this case, these little hexagon shapes to form the flowers. The Grandma's Flower Garden is the name of this pattern. And then the quilting is the stitches that hold all three layers together. So you add a batting and you add a backing.
Okay.
Okay, so this was just a quilt top, an abandoned antique quilt top that I found at a quilt show for sale. And I bought it and brought it home and quilted it, and now I love it. And
it's beautiful.
It's here now.
The colors, of course, the video doesn't do it justice of how beautiful the colors are. They're a lot more vibrant. Thanks. It is beautiful. So I'm assuming you have to cut out every one. There's a lot of little stitches in there.
There's a lot of little stitches. Somebody spent a lot of time.
That's a lot of tedious work. Well, thank you for the quilting there. And
anytime. I'll talk about
quilting.
I
think it's time for another commercial break, babe.
All right. We'll be right back.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank to Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Pegel's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Pegel Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
Clay County Hospital is your life-saving connection. We have spent our lives preparing for when you need us. Quality professional care right at home. Our team will support you and your family so you never feel alone. We will make you feel welcome whether you need care, are visiting a loved one, or seeking employment. Clay County Hospital. Professional care, compassionate hearts.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting the work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
Okay, welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey.
Hello, hello.
Today we're talking about empty lots around town.
Yes, the next empty lot we're going to talk about is beautiful also. It is on the corner of East North Avenue and South Locust. Today we know it as Phillips Park.
Or a lot of people call it Pocket Park.
Pocket Park, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Jan Phillips has owned that property. And after the building was torn down, made a beautiful. It's a beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's got a little gazebo in there. A lot of high schoolers go there to take pictures before dances.
You know, I love prom. It seems like prom because like you guys when the high school has their prom, there'll be children beautifully dressed in Phillips Park or Pocket Park at the historic depot and at the farmers market.
Oh yeah, yeah.
My goodness, it looks beautiful. But let me get my little glasses on here. Before it was Phillips Park, in 1908, it was a general hardware store, and it was called J. Bowman's. Bowman's. J. Bowman's General Hardware Store. Now, just look at that picture. I believe we're dealing with dirt roads right there.
Yep, I think there's dirt roads. There's it's interesting that there's so much hardware also on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Because back in that day, everybody did walk. So there was a lot of people that had to walk around all that, I guess, all the time. I don't know. That'd be kind of annoying. And then did they bring it in every night or did they leave it out?
Well, probably back then they probably left it out.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either.
Just because you, like, a lot of times I think we we think of the good old days and like nothing bad really happened. There was a lot of thievery going on even back then.
You're talking, that was 1908.
Yeah.
That was 1908 when it was.
To put that in perspective, the depot itself was not built until 1917.
Was it 1917?
The depot was built in 1917, and you said that was 1908.
1908.
So that was before the depot was even built. So the city had been here for about 60 years, roughly. But the Bowman family, that was a pretty cool family.
Yeah. Do you have information on the Bowmans?
I have a little bit about them, but they. I'm not going to share a whole lot because I'm actually.
We might want to focus on them.
I'm saving them for. They're going to. I'm guessing they might be featured in this year's cemetery tour.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Each year that we do Shadows of Elmwood, the Rotary puts it on. For those of you that haven't been, it is a fantastic event. It usually features 10 to 12 different families around town, and a lot of people think that maybe it's a scary thing. It's not scary at all. You get on a hayride and you take a little ride through the cemetery and you hear history. You hear the stories firsthand because the actors are portraying people in first person as if they are them, and they tell you about their lives here in Flora or how they ended up in Flora. And the Bowman family, I feel like, is maybe on the list to be talked about there because they're very interesting.
Awesome.
In fact, they are the ones that built and owned the home, the huge Victorian home that we both love that is currently being restored right now on the corner of West 6th and Sycamore in Flora. And it is a beautiful home. The Large family bought that recently, and they are doing a magnificent job of bringing it back exactly how it was.
They probably think I'm a creeper because I drive by it all the time.
Slow. I actually got to go on a little tour of it, and I asked about a million questions. So
I've been in the home a couple times. I know it as the Wickizer home. Sammy Wickizer went to school with my sister Diane. I was a little sister. I remember there. And then when Mrs. Ridgway lived there, after she passed away, went into the home and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, it's just splendid.
Yeah, it's a beautiful home.
It's
but
beautiful.
Anyway, the family that built that home was the one that ran this hardware store.
Awesome.
Bowman Hardware.
Bowman's
right there
Hardware.
Pocket Park.
And then after it was Bowman's, it turned into Burnett Hardware.
Okay.
And then Gamble's Hardware. Now, I remember Gamble's.
Okay.
So I do remember the building. Of course, I was a little girl, so I didn't have the love of all that like I do now. But I do remember Gamble's. But it's funny how that one always stayed just the hardware store. So it must have just family changed it. I'm not exactly the reasoning why the building came down. Probably just
I wonder what happened. Like, did they tear it down? Did it burn down?
I don't remember that. I don't remember it being toward. I don't remember. I just remember one day it was there and the next day it was gone.
I bet they tore
kind
it
of
down.
Like Oliver and Olivia.
Oh, one day they're there and
next day they're
gone.
ashes. But but that's neat. And so then once that it sat empty for quite some time, all through my high school years, it was
empty,
just empty and just kind of like that gravelly looking stuff. And then Jan Phillips turned it into a memorial park for her husband Doug. Who Jan and Doug Phillips will definitely be on an episode one time because they are very implemental in the restoring of our town, and they love Flora. They love and wonderful. So that's just an interesting. So when you drive by Phillips Park, now you've got that visual. Of that big old building.
Yeah.
It's so funny because that building was huge.
It was. Let's
go back to that building because it was huge. And, if you look at Phillips Park right now, I mean, just look at from the north to the south side. That was a big old building.
Big. So that must have went all the way back to the very edge of Railroad Street.
It had to have. Yeah. And if you notice, these are dirt. Now, like I also remember when you would go off on Locust Street till you got in front of the lumberyard was brick.
Oh, okay.
Was a brick road, kind of like right behind the Dairy Queen to behind our beautiful historic depot was brick.
Okay.
And then they ended up coming. Because you would used to be driving and then you'd hit that and be like, you'd have the tire sound.
Look at the 4 chimneys.
I was just noticing that too. I wonder if I bet they heated that with fire. I bet there were fireplaces, you think?
Yeah. And I wonder what was above, like apartments?
I don't know. A lot of the buildings downtown do have apartments.
And look at that one corner. It looks like there's like a little balcony veranda on the top floor. Like they could come out and have their little veranda.
I bet it was probably storage and apartments. And then I wonder if that little thing, I bet they're selling fresh produce right there on the corner in front of that tree.
Yeah,
that looks like a little stand.
Look at the 3 people standing out there.
Yeah,
I wish we knew who they were.
Right? You can't. I can't. Yeah, and that one guy's just like hanging out in the doorway. Hey, come on in to Bowman's. We'll sell you. Got a hammer in here. Oh, and I was talking. And Don Thomas, or was it Don? I don't know. I'm not going to tell that story because Troy was telling me a story about he still has something from one of the buildings downtown, but it may be. I'll have to, before I throw that out there.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to all their, in a hardware store, you have like all these little drawers, little wooden cabinets with all, oh man, I would love to have something like that in my sewing room.
Yeah, you need something like that in your sewing room. But could you imagine being a hardware and like the lumber yard and all the hardware stores doing inventory? Some of those bolts are a little bit, be like, okay, I have 5,000 left. We started with, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
But those are our empty lot stories, and I think it's fun. So when you're driving down,
right, be thinking like as you go through town, like just remember how it used to be. It looks so different now.
Yes,
but there was more there.
Yes,
than there is now.
Well,
what else you got?
I'm having spring fever.
Oh, I bet you are.
I had my grandchildren yesterday, Jack and Joanna, and have I mentioned that they're perfect?
You did mention that, yes.
I think I mentioned that they're perfect everywhere we go. And we went outside because Jack and I, we planted, we went to Valbert's and we got seeds and we planted some radish seeds and we just like to see things grow. Of course, he's a little farmer, And
I bet that was fun.
And then we like to look, there's nothing like springtime when you go and you start to see a little bit, my daylilies are poking through. My hostas aren't, but boy, those daylilies, it's all I can do. But it's like, it's still February.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're still going to have more winter weather.
Look at this fun.
This is
flip it. Look at this.
How to set a table.
Look at this 1950s. Yes. Let me tell you. Yeah, how fun is this?
Oh, look at them all have the perfect table set.
I know they do.
Vintage.
They just it's just so awesome. Yeah, the colors and I mean it's amazing. These colors are amazing. But this is so fun. Let's just read a little bit about it.
Okay.
Oh, on the side table. Luncheon out under the sky. Don't you love the way my voice changes?
Luncheon. I love their copywriting back then because the words they use are fantastic.
They are fantastic.
Their language is even different. Not their language and how they speak, but the words that they choose, their grammar.
Absolutely.
Their sentence composition.
Yeah.
It's classy.
The simplest meal becomes a party when you serve it in the garden. The garden.
In the garden.
The gay plaid napkins, sturdy placemats, individual casseroles and basket holders, and trays of lush, fresh fruits around the jaunty rooster dress up your picnic table.
Oh, nice.
How fun!
Now, I don't know about you, but I have been to several picnics. I have taken kids to the park and had picnics at a picnic table. Never once in my life have I set a picnic table like that. Okay, so I will unload the cooler and a stack of paper plates.
Exactly.
And then I will say the napkins are in this bag because they're about to blow away. So just grab it, and then the food's over here. And I nothing fancy
grab
like that.
The mustard and ketchup, boys. The hot dogs are gone, but not these people. This is great. Take mealtime easy on a torrid midsummer day. Gather up the food and head toward the terrace or lawn. No need to go to extra work. Really? You can count on a pretty table and simple food and inspire flagging appetites. 4, out in the fresh air, living is casual and meals are fun. See, I don't know. I grabbed my hot dogs and zoom in there. Look at this. Okay, so look at that.
It's kind of a glare there.
There we go. Yeah, that is a watermelon and the most perfect little round cantaloupe balls or whatever you see right there.
Oh, and then this is perfect.
It's perfect.
And you know what? There was probably some housewives that got this magazine in 1952 and read it, and then they tried to do this, and it didn't look anything like that, and the kids were horrible, and they were crying, and the dad was reading his newspaper and not paying attention to the mother, and and that poor woman who tried to recreate it probably cried herself to sleep at night because her picnic looked nothing like the one in Better Homes and Gardens. So that's the downside to it.
But how fun was that?
Oh, that is fun.
That is
my mom, she can set a table like that.
Oh yeah,
but I always set the table growing up. Like when I was growing up, I set the table. But
we set the table growing up. I don't do it anymore.
I don't do it as much, and I don't put the thought into like making sure that all my dishes match and that all my tumblers are perfectly matching and pretty.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just, this magazine. And hey, folks, I've got plenty more that I'm going to bring for the next show, bring a different, but we'll probably revisit July 1952 because she's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, she is. There's a lot of good things in there.
Well, Beth, I want to end on our rules to live by.
Ooh, okay, let's go.
This one's interesting.
Okay.
And this is where we're at. Marry a man-woman you love to talk to. As you get older, their conversation skills will be as important as any other.
Okay.
Now, what I take away from this is, I've been married for, I think, Jim, I think, that's terrible. 35. I think this will be 35 years. It is so important with you and your mate, your partner, your spouse, your friend. You have got to be able to convert with each other.
Yeah.
Because when the children are gone,
talk.
We like, I love children. And I love my sons more than anything in the world. But then they left me, and now, then so like for 18 years, you have your children, 18, 20 years, and then they're gone. You have another 30 years. You really need to be able to communicate. If you and your spouse cannot talk together, communication is king, and so you better to find some things you want to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know. A couple of things that I thought of when I read this was marry a man or a woman that you love to talk to. It's kind of bossy. You have to get married. You don't have to get married. Married is not for everyone.
Marriage is not for everyone. Yeah,
but also what if you're just a really introverted person and you don't really like to have a lot of conversations?
I don't understand.
Then what does that mean? Should you just not get married if you're introverted? I don't know.
Not have a friend. Not have a
I don't know. But
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I've never been introverted. I don't even know what that word means.
Yeah. I'm not super introverted either. But I don't know.
Conversation's important. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course, you got to take our rules of living are coming from probably the
it's a different time.
It's a different time.
We don't know when they were written. 40s or 50s probably.
Absolutely. But
it's maybe even earlier. But
communication is king, and we love to communicate.
Yes.
And I am so happy that we are here with By the Way. And,
yes. That was speaking about communication. So just think about every single sitcom that you've watched or movie, and there's a couple, and they have the issue, whatever the issue of the movie is. I mean, if they would just talk about it, each movie would be over in
10 seconds.
Or can you also imagine some of the movies, if they had cell phones back then like they do now?
Oh, yeah.
Let's think of a movie that if they just had a cell phone, they'd just text and be like, this is so weird, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, oh, well. or let's talk E.T. They're home alone or whatever, and this E.T. comes along, they'll just text their mom weird alien creature here.
Weird
don't know what to do.
alien creature, yeah.
Mom's like, okay, let's go home and take care of it. We'll call somebody. Movie over and
done. Just like we're done.
Goonies. We're done. We're done. We're out of time.
We are out of time. And people were worried we wouldn't have enough to talk about, and we could keep going.
We just could keep going.
I had a glorious day today, and we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Yes. I am Stacey Earlywine.
And I'm Beth Cooper. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time on By the Way.